Hi, nearly almost there. It says we're live. Hello, everybody. Hello, Internet. Yes, we have made it. Somehow, the electrons are flowing out of my computer and into yours. Now, if you think that's a little bit invasive, you might want to wear something, a bit more clothing or something. I'm not really sure. How you guys going? Good to see you.
Careful, Rants. Where are you going?
It's good fun going out into the world and just having absolutely no idea who's actually watching you. the amount of years I've been doing this, it used to freak me out, and now I'm just like blissfully unaware. Anyway, whilst we are talking about being blissfully unaware, I'm still finishing off this massive amount of beers that I've got by this group of people called Cage Road, and it's not focusing. There we go. So single fin. I've got another one a bit later I'm going to show you. So that will be a bit later. Have you gentlemen got anything drink-wise? Okay, let me see.
Coffee.
What do we got here?
Milk.
Hey. Oh, and the lower third works too. And Andy, what do you got? Nothing yet.
Just a big mug of coffee. Yeah, because I'm going to be driving a little later, so no alcohol.
Good lad. Oh, that's actually going down really well. I didn't drink at all last week because I had my you guys might remember I had my second jab, and I just thought, give the body just its fighting chance, give that little vaccination its fighting chance to propagate its way through my bloodstream. So no drinking at all last week, other than non-alcoholic drinks, of course. And so this is the first drink I've had for, probably almost 2 weeks. Wow. No wonder it tastes good.
Hey.
Okay, chatties are here. Now, I always forget to do this, so I'm going to do it now. Not that. I'm going to get the copy of the pop-out chat, paste it in, copy that, paste it in to this baby here. You guys can't see what I'm doing, but just trust me, it's all good. It's all for the betterment of the show. And then in a few seconds, it should let me go like this. There we go. You can tell that I've just done it because it's got that big grey block there that says welcome to live chat. That's how you know you've just entered the live chat. How is everyone in the chat? Are we going good? How's your week been? What have you guys been up to in
usual
chat?
Suspects.
Yeah, there's only 18 people according to YouTube at the moment, so it's a pretty quiet affair today. What's the weather like in your area? Is it nice and sunny or something?
It's nice. Sunny day.
Are people working, or what's happening over in your neck of the woods? We are waiting. What I might do is, Darren said that he's having trouble with his camera. Now, is he in chat? I don't know. Haven't seen him in chat.
He was at the start.
Okay.
Right at the very beginning.
Was he? Oh, he was too. He just told me he sent me an email. Okay, cool. So he's having dramas. While we're waiting for him, what we could do, just because he's having dramas, is we might just put the chatties up the top there. Just for now. There we go. That looks good. All right.
Dulling Bromley.
Yeah, it was quite. I haven't done that. Better do that. So today we are talking about gas, and not the stuff that comes out of your butt. But you can if you want. But no one will listen.
You could force them to listen by doing it very loudly.
We could just talk through vocoders the whole show. Wouldn't that be annoying? So yeah, we're going to be talking about gas. I have absolutely no idea where that topic is going to lead us and where that topic is going to end up. But the suggester of that topic is just below me there. This person here, he suggested it. So if you guys want to know everything about gas, I mean, he might be the man. No, I'm only kidding. He suggested it because we all think it's a good idea to talk about. It's probably the elephant in the room at times. So let's do that. Let's address the elephant in the room. But we'll get to that a bit later. I'm doing the pre-show right now. Breakfast show with Ranzee, says Ken. Thanks, Ken. What are you having for brekkie? Are you having some Cocoa Pops, or you having a nice piece of toast, coffee, a bit of juice? Nice to be knowing that you're having some brekkie. Where I am, it's 10 to 9 at night. So we've already had dinner here, and the kids are all tucked up in bed, except for one who's out, but he's almost an adult, that one. So that tends to happen at that age. Oh, that's coffee for breakfast. Wow. Okay. I've done that before. After a heavy night the night before. Iced coffee seems to be a good thing to have if you've had a big night the night before.
Nice.
Sun is rising. So Ken must be over on the American continent, I would suggest, with that sort of thing. Possibly maybe even Los Angeles, that sort of part. Because I would suggest that if you're on the East Coast, the sun would already be up.
Or in Iceland, in a foggy area.
Yeah. Is that volcano still erupting over there?
You know, it's amazing.
Yeah,
Have you watching those
taking a break
videos?
now.
It's crazy, isn't it?
They are really addictive. I've spent hours just watching this thing erupt. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. God, if I had the money, I'd be going over there now to go and have a look, because it's on my bucket list to go and see an erupting volcano. I know that might be a bit of a stupid thing to wish to do, seeing as most of them are probably very deadly. This is not, because it's one of those nice flowing ones. It's not going to go explodey, boom. It's just beautiful. So I've sat and watched those videos. It's like, you know, ASMR, but for your eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. My youngest son was watching it with me, and he made a Minecraft reference to the lava, and I thought it was quite cute. And he asked me, "What does it sound like? Does it sound the same as the sound effect in Minecraft?" And the thing is that it probably doesn't have any sound at all. You might get sort of the sound of rocks cracking or something like that, but lava itself doesn't have the Minecraft sound effects, that's for sure. That was quite funny, I thought. So yeah, it's what were they saying?
Adam's in inverted pumps.
Yeah, there's a few people have joined in the last few minutes. So if you are new, I always say this just in case. You're probably thinking, what the hell is this show about? He hasn't done anything yet. That's because this is the pre-show. And if you look at your clock, it's about 7 minutes to go, or give or take a minute, depending on how long the latency is in your part of the world. And then we actually start the main show. And all we use this pre-show for is to iron out any bugs. And we've already got one bug, and that's Darren's having some dramas with his camera and his mic. So if he can get that going, we might be able to see him a little bit later. If not, he'll message me, I'm sure, which he hasn't done yet. And these bugs happen. This is what I mean. No matter how much planning you do, they will happen. It's anything to do with IT. It's a wonderful industry, IT. Right. What else can we suggest? Lots of people in chat are just talking about anything and everything, saying hello to each other. I like this. It's kind of like jump on Ranzee's show and meet up with your mates that you haven't spoken to for a week. That's a cool thing.
Sorry, Rans, I'm going to disappoint you. Most of them were in Pro Synth Network last night, but that's okay.
That doesn't disappoint me at all. I actually, in a way, I'm kind of jealous because I would love to be able to be awake for that show because I actually really enjoy those guys. But it really screws me because it's right. It's right in the middle of the time when most people would be in their deep sleep. So for me, because it's about 3 a.m, and it's just I enjoy my sleep at this age. Anyway, but I do watch it religiously on the replay. So the guys know that. I talk to them. I have been on that show though. Does that count? Yeah. I stayed up.
Of course it does.
Burnt the candles at both ends. I stayed up just for them. I've been on Jamie's show as well, and that was at an ungodly hour as well.
They've been really, really successful at getting some quite high-end acts in. I mean, they've had two of the guys in from Node. I mean, last night was Mel Weston. They've had, and it's just good. I don't know how they're managing it. They're pulling strings, getting people on, and I think maybe because it's convenient UK time. Actually, that time, 7 o'clock on a Friday is actually quite a nice time for lots of people. They've done well, but yeah.
Well, they used to have it.
I was like, hey.
They used to have it on a Sunday, and I don't think it was as successful on the Sunday. So it was a good move to move it to the Friday. Definitely.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, for the US crowd, I think that was harder, wasn't it? So
yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things that they've got going for them is there's three blokes running it, and when you've got three people running it, you've got 3 times as much effort going into the show. If you think about my show and you think this is just a rabble of unprofessional rubbish, it's because it's just me running it. But actually, and it's not quite true. I actually have some really, really cool people that regularly come on the show, like Andy and Darren and a whole bunch of others that you would have known. And I also get lots of people contributing to the content as well. So I make it sound like it's like a lone thing. It's not. I get a lot of people helping. So that sort of thing warms my heart, and that's why I'm back here every week, because I do enjoy that. We've got about 3 minutes to go. Andy's playing with his camera.
I am. I don't know what I'm doing with this thing. It's having a funny. It's just decided to move for some reason. Am I there? Oh yeah, there we go. That'll do. I'll bugger it. Making everyone feel sick by whizzing it around.
I thought. I thought Jamie is streaming again. I could be. Sorry, I was under the impression Jamie's doing the show again.
Thursdays, yeah, he is. It's quite nice having him back. He's obviously had his ups and downs, but yeah, it's good to have him back. Really pleased to see him.
I haven't had a chance to watch one of Jamie's shows since he's been back, but it is good to see him back. Nobody likes people to go through down periods. It's you guys who have known me for many years will know that I'm an advocate for mental health, and anyone that suffers from mental health is is going to have me in their corner helping them. That's for sure. So if you're one of those, don't be shy. Don't hold back. Reach out to me, and you never know. There's some good results through this sort of medium to helping people. Trust me, it works. So if you are feeling a little bit, COVID has really hurt us in the planet with mental health. I think it's apart from the direct medical impact that it's had, I think the indirect medical impact is it's really affected the planet in mental health because of all the lockdowns and the restrictions and all the rubbish that we've had to put up with. And it's no one's fault. No one was really to blame. You can't really blame your government. You can't really blame. You can blame bits, but you can't really blame the whole thing, if that makes sense. You can blame a few little idiotic decisions here and there, but I think blaming is not really the healthy way to go about it. I think helping each other is the way to go about it. So yeah, I can tell you that one of the most interesting phenomena as a result of COVID is the boom of online video calling and streaming and that sort of stuff. It's absolutely gone gangbusters, and technology's actually improved.
Bloody thing was going to fall off
in that sort of time.
Sorry.
I'm just killing time for the minute that I've got left before I hit the magic buttons, if you're wondering. So
we can blame the bats.
Yeah, we can blame the bats, or we can blame the lab next door to the bats. All right, I am going to hit this button now, and we will start the show. Here we go. Sorry, Andy, I didn't change the graphic. Here we go.
It's fine, no problem.
Well, hello and welcome to you guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's another Saturday. Yes, you've made it through another week. Give yourself a pat in the back. It's a hard thing to do, making it through weeks. And well, hopefully you can stick around. We're going to be talking about synths and drum machines and sequences and gear. And actually this week we're going to be talking about the phenomena that we call gas. And if you're wondering what gas is, it's not the thing that cooks your boiled eggs in the morning. It's a thing that we commonly use. It's an acronym. It stands for Gear Acquisition Syndrome. We're going to be talking about that, but not just yet, because we have a lot of regular stuff that we like to get through first. And what I thought we'd do before we jump into the regular stuff is just to remind you guys that we do have the show continues on during the week, and we have a Discord server that is just below me there. If you haven't joined the Discord server, the chat continues on all through the week, and you can chat to me, you can chat to a lot of the regulars that are on the show. So do check that out. It's free. There's no hidden catches with that. But if you're not into that, that's fine, completely fine. What we will do though is we will say a quick hello to someone that hasn't been on here for a little while, and that's Henrik. How you going, Henrik? JX3D, we know him as.
Hello, world. I'm fine. Yeah, it's been a while, but it's okay. I have a lot to do with getting it all to work, and yeah, that's not always so easy.
So we're obviously going to be checking out all your goodies there, but I think when the last time you was on, we were doing the Sonicware Livin', wasn't it? The FM synth. That was the last time we had you, wasn't it? It's a while ago now.
Yeah, yeah. Or was it with John Lemcool?
Oh, it might have been with John. Yeah, you're right. So. Yeah. When we're doing the VSTs. Yeah, good memory. And I can see that you've got a Hydra synth there and some absolutely amazing new stuff in your rack just behind your head there, which I reckon everyone will be wanting to check out with interest. So we can probably pick your brains with some of that a bit later. Absolutely. And is that a Minilog XD above the Hydra synth, or is that a Minilog? It's an XD, yeah.
XD.
I might ask you about that a bit later, because that's a synth that I've always wanted to get, and I think it'll be appropriate in the gas segment when we get to that. Thanks for coming along anyway, mate. It's really good. Just for everyone to know, Henrik is actually one of my patrons as well, so very, very supportive and much appreciated that he's on the show too. So thanks very much, Henrik. Andy, nice to see you, mate.
Hello.
How's your week been?
Hello. Yeah, I wasn't going to be popping in this week, was I? But actually, I just need a bit of a break from it all. My camera is just having it's going to fall off any minute. But anyway, not to worry. Yeah, I've been spending the week getting ready, practicing, rehearsing, overcoming more technical problems, and then I got sort of the sort of technical rider for the gig and the timings and all of this, and it was like, this isn't going to work. It's a small space. There's going to be people playing, people setting up, people dismantling it, and I can't do this. And I was getting more and more frazzed about it, and I realized that actually the solution to the problem is to say, right, I'm not using the modular. I really wanted to do that for all sorts of reasons, but at the end of the day, I just thought that is the thing that is the most impractical, and all I'm using it is to make an occasional wibbly noise and a bass line here and there, and I thought that's just silly. Now that's so I've, oddly enough, with that moment of clarity and saying I'm not doing that, simplified the whole thing. But I've been it's like emotional roller coaster over the last sort of like 48 hours of trying to get things going, but yeah. So I'm just doing this for a break. I'll be around for about an hour, and then I'll have to be heading off. So, hi everyone, good to see you all. Now I'm going to have to push my camera back on because it's about to go.
Perfect. Well, it's good to have you, Andy. And we were going to have Darren back this week, but he's just messaged us to let us know that he's having some technical dramas with his camera, so we may not see him. And if he does manage to sort that out, we may. You can always cross your fingers or hold your breath. If you do decide to hold your breath, you might end up being purple by the end of the show, but that's okay. That is not going to be our fault. But what we will do is we'll say hello to the chatties, who are an awesome bunch of people, and it's always good to see a lot of regulars that come onto the show. So good. It's like It's like our weekly catch up with everyone. It's awesome. Good to see everyone there. So what I'll do is I'll quickly go scroll back, and it won't let me go all the way back to the start. I think, yeah, I can't remember who was at the start. I think it might have been you, Andy. But anyway, Ken Lewis is up the top of the list at the moment. So big hello to Ken. We've been saying hello before. We've got Simon Fenn. Big hello to Simon. Your name here's there. Jim Glue, Corrosive Abuser, Sasquatch, Martin Taylor, ASIO Head, Howard. It's good to see you, Howard. Who else? Inverted Popes. Good to see IP. And I think I saw Lisa there. Big hello to Lisa. Poo Ninja is there.
That's a good name, isn't it?
That is a good name. I think we've had Poo Ninja before. Future World Machines. Big hello to you. Who else we got? Wagoo. Dumb Jezza. That's an awesome nick as well. I should call myself Dumb Ranzee. Keith and Watford. Big hello to Keith. Adam's there at Amsky. Big hello to Adam. I know, Adam, you were on. I think you were on Jamie's show, if I remember rightly, during the week. So you have to let us know how that went. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I did see the post that he put up. Burkoot's there. Haven't seen Burkoot for a while. Welcome back. QRDNK. And I'm going to scroll. Mark M. Who else? I don't know if I've... Stephen's there. Mac. Who else? Ken Lewis. Did I say Ken? Yeah, I did. I'm repeating myself now, see? I'm starting to lose track. Andy there, Synth Addict. Big hello to Andy. Burning the candles at both ends again. He doesn't... I'm sure Andy doesn't sleep. Andy, let us know any secrets. Suzanne's there. Big hello to Suzanne. And it's nice to have a fellow local countryman in the chat. Will's there. And I've probably missed a whole... Howard, did I mention Howard before? I've probably missed a whole bunch of people. And what happens is I scroll all the way down and a whole bunch of people jump in at the last second. Like Zimfella and who else? Who else has jumped in at the last second? Joseph. I think that's about it. So anyway, good to see everyone. Good to see everyone. So yes, welcome. If you have never ever watched this show before, what we do is we do a couple of regular segments every week, and we start off with trying to make you laugh and always failing with funny side. Yes, at the end of the internet, there's these stupid things called memes, and stranger things do happen. Maybe you might laugh at them. I don't know. I thought this one is not so much of a laughing, but I thought it was pretty cute. It was just an old-timey doorless jam. I remember these cartoons.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the big act that used to play like 50,000 synths on the stage like that? It's like a caboose sort of thing, isn't it?
Cool. Do you know, I don't know how he does that, but hey.
It's incredible, isn't it?
It's actually how you think deep inside when you are having gas. You think you can play all that.
That's how you set your studio up, is it? I like it.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Henrik.
Yeah. Let's make us. This will make us even feel even more worse. Bachelor's degree in music.
Yeah.
100K student debt. Can't get a record contract. Believes people without college degrees are stupid. 4-year paid apprentice. No student debt. Earns 80K annually. Disconnects Adam's electricity. Oh, geez, that is harsh. That is really, really harsh.
And horribly true. Yeah, I saw that one as well. Oh, heck.
Throw your synth at the screen and discuss it, that one. What about this one? I swear it's like the vintage analog gear makes me more creative, says everyone sitting around wearing tinfoil hats. You can actually hear the difference. Believe it. Believe it. That's also gas related. This one was interesting, I thought. It's not really synth related, but I just thought it was funny. Because I don't know if you guys, like some of the more recent album releases that have come out. So Lord's released a new album. That's the actual album cover down the bottom left. And Aphex Twin, it's like, what's going on here? I thought that was I thought that was clever. All right, so favorite meme of the week.
The bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because it's true.
Yes. How much of a bachelor's degree do we actually use? What are the chatties saying? Favorite meme. Sasquatch is saying harsh but true. With the bachelor's degree, I think. Yep, college degree. Yep, he agrees. Okay. Well, that's it for this week with the funny side. We do have some news. It's not a massive news week. Starting off with news is if you do live in the US or you have some sort of way of faking that you live in the US, you may want to enter a competition that Novation and Sequential have just done. Now that they're part of the Focusrite group, they're both one of the same company pretty much. So basically what you can win is that bit of gear there. So they've teamed to bring you the ultimate synth and controller bundle worth over $1,900 US. You can win a Novation Launch Key 37, the Mark III, the Novation Circuit Tracks, it's the one on the left, and underneath the Prophet Rev 2 8-voice desktop synth. Now that's probably the majority of the value in it there, but I think if I press a certain button, we can have a look at the website. It does sort of crap on a little bit about what those products are, but there you go, you can actually enter it. Giveaway ends September the 14th, and it's only available to participants with a US mailing address. Now, I want to make this clear to people. I don't think it means that you have to be a US citizen. I think it only means that you have to have a US mailing address. So I could be wrong. You might want to go and check the terms and conditions, but I couldn't see anywhere that it said you had to be a US citizen. But there are terms and conditions there. We're not going to go into it in the show. Someone might want to go.
I see a problem there. See a problem there. They want to know what genre I play. I can't tell. I really don't know.
There was a great discussion in our Discord during the week about genre, and people were asking how do you choose your own genre. So that could be a good topic for a show coming up, I think. You can tick multiple if you want, by the way.
And other.
And you can tick other, yeah. Or you can just tick ambient.
There isn't one that's...
Just tick ambient if you're not sure. I mean, that is the most like ambiguous genre ever, that one. So really, I mean, what is ambient? So anyway, and if you are selecting your most primary software, is there a Focusrite Novation piece of software there? I don't think there is there? I don't record. Yeah, select that one. We're having fun with this. All right. So anyway, I think if you've got some sort of US mailing address, you may be able to enter that. I don't know. Someone may correct me if I'm wrong, and I might be getting in trouble for saying it, but I don't care because this is what we'd have fun on the show. There is more news. This was interesting. What the hell is this? This looks like a whole bunch of weird blue horizontal lines. What could that possibly be? Well, what I might do is just queue up a little video and see if we can get this video to go. Just give me a second. 1 second, I just need to queue it up.
Sampler plugin, you can.
All right. And then we'll go back to this screen. Let's check this out.
With the Sampler plugin, you can edit the notes in any audio sample. Let me show you how it works with this sample. First, you add the plugin to an empty MIDI track. Then you drag your audio sample into the plugin. Once it's done processing, you will see a MIDI transcription of your audio sample. Now all that's left to do is to drag that MIDI transcription into the same MIDI track that the plugin is on. If you play the result, it should sound the same as the original audio sample. Now we can start editing all the notes in the piano roll. The sampler plugin will then apply these changes to the audio sample in real time.
Nice.
Ooh. Now, that is actually really, really, really cool because I don't think I've seen anything like that yet. I could be wrong. And then, having said that, I'm not a massive software synthy sort of person, so someone could correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure there's ways to do that, but that simply, I don't think so. So what's interesting about this is it's a free VST plugin. I'll post the link in the chat right now for that, for people who are like throwing their money at the screen right now. It's free. You don't need to throw your money at the screen. Go and get it. It's a VST. Yeah. Let's have a quick little look at, see if anyone in the chat said that there is something like that that exists. Yeah, the Melodyne is kind of what I was thinking, guys. So I have used Melodyne. There are some other things that will sort of pull apart samples and let us know what pitch the different notes are in and things like that. But in terms of its simplicity, I think this is probably the most simplest thing I've ever seen, where you literally just drag your sample into it. Now, I'm sure there's going to be people that have got like a 4-hour sample and chucking it into it, and your computer's just crashed. I don't know if it's kind of built for that sort of thing, but definitely, that smaller sort of stuff. And I thought that was actually really clever, how you could go in and actually edit all the partials of the note of that one soundbite. I thought that was really, really clever. So yeah. Free does not give me gas. Yeah. Henrik, what do you think of the SampLab?
I have to admit, I was just doing something while you showed it, so I didn't see it all. I'm sorry.
you were distracted. All right, we'll go to Andy then. Andy's got an opinion.
I just think it's weird. I've not seen that before, and my brain's going, how does it do that? We've got MIDI notes, and you're changing the sample, and you're extracting. It's the sort of thing that makes me go, I just don't understand technology anymore. But I really like the idea. That really got. Oh, that's interesting. There's things you could do with that. I just thought, yeah, I'm going to investigate that one further. I've opened up the tab with it, so I shall probably have a look. But not today.
Yeah, I kind of wonder how. How technical it can get. Like if you put like a full recording with all multiple instruments and stuff in there, how kind of technical would it get? Would it be able to split vocals? And I don't know. Melodyne's probably better for that sort of stuff. And there's some other software that we've talked about on the show, which is good for that sort of stuff as well. So yeah, I want to have a little play with it, and we'll probably maybe talk about it next week. I've only just come across this in the last hour or so. So has anyone in the chat got it? Not really. Dumb Jez is not paying attention either. So there you go.
They all did something.
They were all like having brekkie or something. Yeah. Well, look, one of the things that you can do with this is not necessarily just changing the way the chords sound and things like that, is that you can actually work out, a bit like Melodyne, but you can actually work out how someone's played a certain sound as well. And then, that's going to be helpful for people. So considering it's free. Anyway, let's continue on with more news. Along the software sort of I don't do a lot of software on the show. I do like this. So UVI have released the new Emulation 2 Plus, and I have to admit, this has actually, really excited me. So let's have a bit of a listen.
Oh, it's Devo.
I was just literally waiting for Ferris Bueller's Day Off to come in any second now, and he was going to pretend he was sick and cough at different pitches. Yeah, so $129 US. It's 35.1% off at the moment, if that gives you gas or not. I love the emulator. This is probably, in my opinion, I'm allowed to have an opinion. This is probably the best emulation of an emulator. If you want to call it that.
Woohoo.
Yeah, and that wasn't meant to be a joke. That was me just being really stupid at not knowing what I was saying. No, I actually think this is actually pretty good. And there is, things like Emulation 3, there's Emulation 2 Plus, and Drumulation, and a whole bunch of other stuff. I should probably show you that whilst I am scrolling. So these are some of the others that are there as well. So yeah, doing malts and things like that. So yeah. Does anyone have the UVI emulator? No.
No, but I dreamed about it, and I dreamed about the Fairlight in like 30 years ago. But no, 35 years ago, I think.
Yeah, it's been a while.
But I have the Arturia Fairlight, and I never use it. It was a great dream once, but today, no. I can do samples in so many ways. And
Yeah.
I don't know what I should use it for.
Quasar Beach is probably better, to be honest. It's more fun. It's more geeky version of the Fairlight. Were you a big emulator fan in terms of a listener in the day? Because they were used in so many records.
Yeah. I've almost always been a big Depeche Mode fan. Yeah. And they used emulator. Yeah. And
that's right.
And of course, that was a dream. And I was educated at a place where we borrowed a Fairlight at a time, and that was just a dream. But
you're doing a lot of dreaming there, mate.
It was expensive. We got in a band I was in. We got an Emax in the late 90s, I think, Emax 2, and it was really fantastic. That's a year before I got my Mirage in Sonic Mirage, and I was into sampling then. It was great, and I've done sampling on the Amiga and later on other devices. So but the emulator, it was a dream to get, but I never got it. I never played it. I only tried emulations in software.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a kind of loose link, but didn't EMU sell the designs for the emulator to Sequential at one stage? Or I think there was some sort of link between those two companies. We were talking about Sequential just before.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, emulator 1 was 81, so that's when you think about it, like that's going back a long time now. And you were talking about the Emax, so that was kind of early 2000s. So yeah, they had a pretty long history anyway.
The original Emax is earlier than that. The original Emax is about 1986. So I mean, I'm with Henrik. I sort of lusted after an emulator too. I still think I said last night actually in the chat that it's still one of the best looking ugly keyboards out there. It's a big ugly lump of greyness and blueness, and yet it still looks amazing. It's fantastic. I would love to own one. We were chatting with Andy Synth Addict, and we were saying that that the Emulator 2 and the Emulator 2 Plus, they command higher second-hand prices than the much more highly spec'd Emulator 3. simply because that emulator 2 is still such an iconic keyboard. I think, as Henrik mentioned, I think bands like Depeche Mode in particular, seeing them with their pair of emulator 2s on the stage and the other thing, they were just awesome looking things, and I would love to own one. You know, I mean, I have an EMU ESI 4000 in a rack down behind me, which I bought in the late 90s, and I thought, oh, I've got my emulator at last. It's not an emulator.
Yeah.
You know, it's not
the same thing.
It doesn't have any. It has no character of its own. I mean, we've talked about this sort of thing before. I mean, like the W30 has a load of character. That's just a good sampler. You sample loads of sample memory. At the time it had, but it's got none of the desirability. I mean, I think how much is an ESI 4000 worth now? About 50 quid. Nobody wants one of those, do they?
Well, when you think about it, I think it's when you said what you said, Andy, about like what we kind of thought was the better of that era. There was a reason for it, and the Emulator 2 was probably the more successful one in my opinion, because at that sort of point in time, there was not as many computers around that were able to do that sort of stuff. It was about a third of the price or even more than what a Fairlight cost. So it was more affordable,
more practical, more convenient
for musicians, and I think, and because of that, it actually appeared on more albums. So in that particular sort of time period, 84 to maybe 87, 88, that sort of period. And then when the late 80s came, there were more computers around that were able to handle samples, and the Akai machines were coming out, and so there was a bit of a flood in the market. So it was probably that factor alone. Anyway, I should mention Dave Rossum because he's still around doing stuff. So he was the guy that started all this stuff, and it's really cool. And if you've never heard an emulator in real life, the UVI thing might actually get you somewhere reasonably close to it anyway. So
can I ask a question about it though, Ranzee? I meant to. I'm sorry. Is it basically just a sample library with a nice emulator looking interface?
Well, let's have a look what it says. There's emulator 2. There we go. Let's go back to here. Sorry, I've just pressed the wrong button. There we go. That was on you, Andy. Sorry. So, where's my little notes that I had on this thing? It's an emulator of the emulator, if that makes sense. So yes, it does have the common presets from the classics, but it also has new presets. So from the original, they used a classic 8-bit lo-fi sound, and then obviously it's got other things mixed in there. They've talked about the Oberheim DPX1 OMI libraries as well, and you can layer this sort of stuff together. So as I mentioned, you've got the Drumulator Plus and the multis as well. So what it does emulate though are the filtering side of things. And it's not going to have the same DSP, DAs, and things like that, obviously, but it does go some way to emulate that. I don't know how accurate that is. Someone in the chat may actually have this. I don't actually own this. Only reason why I'm showing this is probably because I'm actually thinking about getting it. So Andy's saying it's sample based. Okay, just with added FX. There you go. There's your answer.
Can you add your own samples into it? Could you just port WAVs across and it'll do some, oh, look, this is now processing it?
I mean, I don't know because I haven't got it yet. But maybe we can, when I do decide to get it, hopefully in the next few days, I can let you know. It's probably, it's probably going to be one of those things that I end up buying and then I end up like you guys were saying before. I use for a bit and then I get bored with it and move on. I don't know. We're going to talk about this later about gas, and one of the elements of gas is that romantic historical link to sounds, and that will draw us to buying something. But whether we actually need that to do that is actually a good question, whether we should actually stop ourselves and think a little bit more with clarity. So yeah, you could actually be bringing up a very important point, Andy, by just sort of saying, is it just samples? Is it just playing samples? Because really, do I need UVI software to do that when I can just get open source samples all over the net?
Synth Addicts just said in the chat, so normally not, but this one could. So maybe that's, so if you've got your own samples, you can put it in and it'll do its own emulatory sort of business with it. I think it's interesting. I mean, I love the sounds, the sound libraries and things. They sound great. But it's the same sort of nostalgia that I have for things like the Mellotrons and the Fairlight libraries. They sound great, but you know, do you really want to have all of that on your computer? Possibly, some people will. I don't think it's for me particularly, though.
Yeah, that's the end of news. I don't have anything else. There's no synths that have come out that we haven't already talked about. There's been a few audio demos of the sequential one that we talked, the Take 5. So I'm sure we've all heard that during the week. So there's no point in me showing it again because it's going to be the same audio demo that you heard in the other shows that you watch. So I think we'll go to the next segment, which is Price Watch. This is actually brought to us by Synth Addict, because all of the submissions this week have been courtesy of Synth Addict. And I need my mouse back somewhere. There it is. Okay, so first one off the ranks is this one. This is the Korg Trident. Now, I know someone who absolutely loves Korg Tridents, and that is Mark Doty. He's a big fan of Korg Trident. And I don't blame him, actually, because they really have quite a unique sound, I find, to these. I would love it if Korg remade this. I think it would be, instead of making ARP, they should remake their own stuff. Because they are doing some of it, but like I'm not really so sure that they should be making this instead of some of those other things that they make. I don't know, it's just my personal opinion. Anyway, $5,000 US, or the better part thereof. It's located in Brooklyn, in New York. Hello to all the people in Brooklyn that are watching. Probably no one. But yeah, that's actually not a bad price, really, is it? 5,000 for. I mean, it's pretty sought after these times.
Yeah, they're quite rare. So I suppose the price is decent, but would you shell out $5,000 for one?
Well, you know, it's. I mean, how much is a Moog 1?
Well, exactly. I mean, if Korg were to reissue it, if it's what, £1,700, £1,700 for the micro Korg thing that they released recently, how much is it going to be for a 6 or 8 note polyphonic synthesizer like that? I mean, it's got divide down and stuff in it, I think, and other stuff, but I still think it would end up being extremely expensive if they re-released it. But I'm with you. I'd love to see some more things like this out there. I mean, I've always thought the Trident was a thing of beauty. I think it just looks great. Yeah, I do too. Sounds great too.
I reckon the guy that made his shop came up. I think he spent a long time trying to work out what he was going to call his business, because it's located on the main drag. He's decided to call his shop Main Drag Music. I think that was very clever. Anyway, hello to Main Drag Music if you're watching. Next one is Buchla Easel. Now, this one's up in the northwest of the US, in Washington. North Bend. Sorry, can't read my own writing here. Better part of 7,000 US if you include the shipping. So yeah. Is that really worth that sort of money? I mean, you got to think to yourself, what am I going to be doing with this? I mean, the Buchlas are great and everything. I love the Buchlas.
I have to ask native. Sorry, Henry, go ahead.
The new version available is expensive too. So for an old one, a vintage one, I think it's a fine price.
Probably good. Yeah, I think the brand new ones are about the 5,000 US mark, aren't they? So it's not that much difference, is it?
I was just going to suggest that we ask Native VS about this, because he's just pointed out in the chat that that's not a booklet; it's a Philip-off-based clone. Now I know he also has got a booklet clone. He's been doing some really quite wonderful videos on that and demonstrating it and using it. So he'd be the one to comment. But he's saying if it's not a real booklet, is it actually worth $6,000, $7,000?
That's a good point.
I don't know.
Let's have a quick look at the chat, because if that's true, then that is borderlining scam territory, because really when you think about it, they're actually saying on the ad that it's a Buchla easel, aren't they? When technically it's not.
I can't see where it says Philip off, but I'm sure. I mean, Native VS knows his stuff about these things. He really does. So I'm sure he's right.
I can't see it either, but I'm looking. No, I can't see it. But it might be something that signifies that. Oops, I'm doing too many of them. Yes, there you go. Cool. Where are we up to? We have got some more to show. What about the Elka Synthex? Wow, that is getting a bit stupid.
Oh, yummy. Oh, look at the price. Oh.
That is getting stupid. Mind you, that stand would be pretty rare, because they don't all come with that stand. That just that oozes Italian synthesizer design, doesn't it? With that stand, it just oozes it. It is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Did anybody see Heinbach's? Sorry.
No, you go.
I was going to say, if anybody saw Heinbach's video on the Italian Synth Museum, there's a museum dedicated to the manufacture and the production of the old Italian synthesizers. Really quite fascinating. I mean, obviously Elka Synthex is well known, Krumar is well known, but there's a load of others that are these very peculiar, like offshoots of the organ and sort of accordion sort of factories and things that made all these really quirky, strange. But yeah, I mean, the Elka Synthex is the best now. But again, look at that; it's a beast, isn't it? And it just looks amazing. I'd love one of those.
If you were a collector,
I haven't got 15 grand.
If you were a collector, you'd probably pay that. But if you're just buying it to make music, you wouldn't. What were you saying, Henrik?
I remember the time when these things were in the shops. And they were not in the shops where synthesizers were. They were in the organ shops, home organs and such.
Yeah.
So it was a genre, at least the people I know would never buy. It's difficult to me to see, to fall in love with this because of being raised like that.
Yeah, I understand. So what you're saying is the funnel that you came out of has formed you to feel this is more an organ than a synthesizer, and as a result, you can never sort of put it in that. Yeah, look, I know what you're saying, and I actually remember there was actually an interview with Jean-Michel Jarre about the Elka Synthex, because he was probably the synthesizer musician that made it famous. I mean, he wrote a whole album using the Synthex, and he talked about it as an organ when he got it. So, but because of the way he programmed it, and because there were guys like, who was the guy that did the Laser Heart patch? I forget his name now. We talked about him the other day.
Was it Paul Whiffen did it?
Paul Whiffen, yeah, Paul Whiffen. He's a synth. Paul Whiffen's a synth guy. He writes sound patches for many things. Also a producer as well. So because of that, it crossed the divide, and as a result of that whole sort of demarcation of Elka being just an organ company to now being a respected synthesizer manufacturer, that's where it happened. It was literally the use of it. And I think when they designed it, they did it on purpose. They definitely had the idea that we're going to make a synthesizer. So because a lot of the technology that are in organs are, common in synthesizers as well. So it wasn't a big stretch for them to do that. By the way, if you're ever wondering, it's actually one of my most favorite synths. It's in the top 5. My top 5 must have about 100 synths in it, by the way, just in case you're counting.
We've all been there and done that, haven't we?
yeah. I know someone's going to say in chat, hang on, didn't you say this was in your top 5? No. Anyway, I think there's one more, and that is this one. This is also in my top 5. And I'm not joking.
We got the whole
this.
gamut here.
I love the synth. The ARP Quadra. I wish
yep.
someone would remake this. This is an extremely curious synth in the sense that it's basically 4 different synthesizers in one, and it's 4 different synthesizers in one back in the day when an analog was king. So it's not like a JDXI, which is 4 synthesizers in one, right? This is a real analog beast. It's got a bass machine, it's got a string machine. Do you know what I mean? Like it's got an amazing sounding phaser circuit in it, which people should replicate. Please, someone replicate that phaser circuit. Especially do it in Eurorack for me. I'd love to buy it. Yeah, so 12,500 with the shipping in US dollars. This one's in Spain. Yeah. The Moog Child Syndrome.
Tony Banks machine, Genesis.
Yeah, New Order, Genesis. Who else was big with the ARP Quadra? I've got a feeling it's like someone like Steve Miller Band or someone like that were big on these over in the US. Because don't forget, ARP were based in the US. They were pretty big, the Quadra, with some bands in the US. People in the chat will probably remind us who was a big US artist that used the Quadra. Yeah, that's the first 10 synths in my top 5. Thanks, Marcus. See, I knew he was counting. I knew someone was counting. I said it was 100. I'm using Marcus, if you're wondering, it's called the TARDIS principle. You can squeeze 100 synths in 5. I'm using a compression algorithm. Anyway, yeah, so does anyone remember a good, well-known US artist that used the Quadra? Stevie Wonder? Yeah, he had everything, didn't he? I don't know why I think it's Steve Miliband, but don't forget Steve Miliband. He was really early on a big synth user. He had the mini Moogs. He had, like, think about the album "Fly Like an Eagle." It's just
yes, it's Joe Zawinul.
Yeah,
Weather Report.
Oh, yeah. Go back and listen to that stuff. That's like
great.
As raw synth as you can get. That stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
The TARDIS of the mind. Yes, fantastic. Got a few suggestions anyway. Make a video, please, Marcus. Brilliant comment from Stephen. Anyway, that's the end of the regular segments. So you've made it. Well done. Give yourself another pat on the back. Lots of pat on the back today. So yes, we do have our topic now to talk about, which is this. What is this button here? Gas. Yes, that's right. Gas is. Can you smell it? You better go check where the smell's coming from. No.
There it is.
coming out of JX3D's mouth. So yeah,
contribute myself in a minute.
Where are we going to go with this? Look, I said before earlier in the show, it's the elephant in the room sometimes, isn't it? We sometimes are guilty of having gas. We see things on shows like that you watch on YouTube, or you see something pop up as an ad in your Facebook feed or whatever, and all of a sudden you've got gas and you think, oh, I want to buy it. And I think what we want to talk about today is the realities of it, because if you look around here, I've probably been a big sufferer of gas. I did ask my doctor about it, and she was going to mention some sort of medication, but I then explained what it really meant, and she was like confused. But look, for you guys, do you guys feel sometimes you've bought something and then after you've bought it, you kind of think to yourself, I don't know if I really needed that. I probably shouldn't have bought that. And you have a little bit of this wonderful thing called buyer's remorse. Put your hand up if you've had that happen before. Yes, we all. So is buyer's remorse the one of the after effects of gas? Would that probably be something that we would experience? Not always. Sometimes we we might experience happiness as a result of having gas and buying something. Sometimes we might experience a big, massive smack across the back of the head when the wife's found out that you've spent more money than you actually told her. That could be another result of gas. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see all of our experiences. So in the chat, I think denial is a river in Egypt. Yes, that's right. You probably should actually not deny the fact that gas exists. Ideas about sneaking things in through other means, like putting a synth with the grocery shopping, things like that. Yeah, we could talk about it. But yeah, the real issue here is that the question is, do we really need something? Is it a need, or is it a want? Is it a desire? Has it got that vintage romantic link to our past that we must have it, or is it because it's on the latest album that Aphex Twin did? But it could be anything. Or it could be that the guy in the music store was really good at convincing you, and all of a sudden now you've come home with a Fender guitar, and you're probably thinking, what the hell? No. So yeah, what do you guys? Do you want to go first, Henrik?
Yeah. I would like to say first, the good thing about getting older is that you tend to forget the bad things you. Yeah, I was about to say another one. The bad things you don't use anymore. So it's only when you tidy up the room and you find it and you think, why the H did I buy that?
You can say hell. That's fine.
Okay. I don't believe in it anyway. So, well, we buy a lot of stuff which looks good, sounds good, and there are videos where it sounds better than you can ever get it to sound. For example, the Digitakt. I love the Digitakt, but I can't make the rhythms they do in the videos. I'm just not as good at that. So, but it's a good machine. But I could have used some software on the computer. I could have used the Bitbox.
Yep.
But it's okay.
Does that disappoint you that you can't?
Yeah, but it's my ability. It's not the machine. The machine is fine.
But is it? But is it really? Is it really your ability, or is it maybe the fact that the machine isn't as user friendly or as intuitive?
No, it's user friendly. I think it's user friendly. I think it has a great interface. But perhaps the problem is when you have gas, you buy a lot of stuff, so you don't have half a year to learn that machine,
right?
Because you have something new next month, and
it's a good point.
And therefore, you have a lot of equipment you never get to use right.
Yep,
that's a problem with gas.
Too much gear, too little time.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So would you say that as a result of having a relationship with some of the gear that you've bought that hasn't quite arrived where you would have hoped, that relationship with that gear becomes a little bit more distant?
Yeah. I love the Medusa. I don't use it much either. And the Electro.
Yep.
I used it a week, and it's not connected anymore. I even tried to take it to work. Sometimes I have some time to do stuff for myself, but it doesn't inspire me.
Yeah.
So I have some things I never use. I know others love the Electro, both of them. I only have one. I was about to buy two, but I stopped.
Do you think this realization is starting to change you now that you've kind of realized that some of these things that you've bought, are they starting to now form a different change in you, how you purchase things?
Yeah. I started a company some years ago when I began to buy hardware because on the software side, I make sounds and earn some money on making patches. And another thing about the company is my wife cannot say, "Don't buy that," because it's a company. So that's another accounting.
That's cheating, Henrik.
Yeah, but it works. There a few years ago, I switched from software to hardware. I'm not completely done with software, but I haven't bought many plugins lately because I don't need them. Now when I have the hardware, I see the plugins. They all do the same with small differences. Why do I need 10 synths that can do the same when it's difficult to explain. But when I upgrade to a new computer, I will only have a few plugins, not the 1,000 plugins I have now.
So you can even have gas with software, can't you?
Oh yes. And now I really see that I had gas with software. Now that I almost never buy it because I spend it on gear instead. But yeah. I'm more aware of having gas now.
So do you think you're kind of things are slowing down in terms of your acquisitions now, or are you being a little bit more I don't know, cautious, a bit more sort of cautious? Yeah. You researching things more? What do you think's changed?
Yeah, I research things more, and then on Toolman, for example, I have wish lists a year forward, and I change those wish lists before I buy it. So I spend a lot of time considering if that's what I need. But still, there are some impulse buys where I just get it because I want it, and then I find out, but I don't use it.
Yeah. So. No, that's some good. Thanks for sharing that with us. That's some good personal insight into it. And I think we can learn from each other. And I think what you've just said is about, your personal experience with different products doesn't mean that we're pooing on Digitact at the moment. We're not. You were just using that as an example. We've all got examples, and we're not, rubbishing any brands specifically. So for all the Digitact fanboys out there, don't worry, they're a good bit of gear. What I thought we'd do is we'd go to the chatties, because there's been a lot of comments that have been pouring in, and as we wouldn't never not expect, but some of the things like they're saying. Who was it that said it? Somewhere it scrolled past me too quick. It might have been... Someone said one in, one out is a principle that they use. I can't remember who said that. I think it was Future World Machines, if I remember. So if you bring something in that's new, you've got to take something out. So I could take a cable out and bring a Moog one in. That would be a principle that would work. No, just kidding. So yeah, one in, one out's a good idea. And there's been some other good suggestions in here. If you do want me to mention your comment, try to flag my name, because it's actually been scrolling pretty quick here. By just doing it at Ranzee or just mention Ranzee, it just helps me sort of read through these. But you've got VE Sound said, I changed my strategy about gas a few years ago. Instead of losing money buying machine, selling it for more expensive one, and so on. and so on, I weight more machines I'd really dream about. So what he's saying is you're selling something to fuel the purchase of something else. You're kind of not just buying things and just hoarding, I guess what he's trying to say. Which is not a bad idea. And the other thing that was mentioned, I don't know if it was in chat, but one of the things that I remember being mentioned, I think it might have been on Discord, is another tactic is to put something in a shopping cart of your favorite retailer. And usually when you log in and go back to that retailer, the shopping cart will still have those items in it. And if you sleep on it and you go back there the next day and it's still in the shopping cart, and if you still feel that you need to get it, then that 24-hour period might actually be enough for you to change your mind, or enough for you to sort of think a little bit more deeply about it. I've tried that, and I actually find that sometimes I delete things out of the shopping cart. So I'm like, yeah, I want that. And then I think about it, go back a couple of days later, and the shopping cart's full of these things in there, and I'm like, I don't need it anymore, and I delete it. So that's actually not a bad little tactic that was suggested. But yeah, researching is a really good one that Henrik brought up. So how do we research? Obviously, we use...
Pinky's just mentioned it too.
Yes, she did. So we use shows, people like Mark Doty and Lou Pop and all the good synth reviewers that are out there. Obviously, Nick Batt is another great synth reviewer. But at the same time, what we have to be careful of too is, and this is no reflection on any of those names I just mentioned at all, this is completely irrelevant to that, but if you are watching some of the synth reviewers out there, they can be commercially aligned, if that makes sense. So there are some really good synth reviewers out there, but they actually work for a company. Like, I'll give an example, and this is not meant to be a negative, it's just to understand that they have a job to do, and that is to sell gear. So therefore, they're going to have that marketing enthusiasm behind when they communicate with us. One of them is Dan Fisher. I actually love Dan Fisher's videos from Sweetwater, but just remember that he does actually work for Sweetwater, and his job is to actually sell gear. So he's actually probably one of the best reviewers out there. But as a result, that's probably why he's got that job. So we do have to be careful of that, with that commercially aligned reviewer. And I think a lot of them, if they aren't, obviously we know Dan Fisher's Sweetwater because it's on a Sweetwater YouTube channel, so that one's not a problem. But if there are some reviewers out there that aren't disclosing that they got the item for free or to review, or there was some sort of paid promotion as a result of them reviewing it, they should disclose that. I feel that's an ethical thing to do. And I'll give you an example. I've been given and I've told you guys this, the MRCC from Conductive Labs. I was given that as a beta test to review, and I did that. So I did my job. And as a result, I got given the unit for free. But I didn't get paid to be a beta tester, which was actually quite a lot of work on my behalf. So the benefit that I got was to keep a $300 piece of hardware. So I don't know, if you're looking at that as a future sort of form of employment, if that's going to actually put food on the table. But yeah, I think if we as people that are on YouTube, if we're influencing, in a way, we should disclose if there's a commercial interest that we might have, or a commercial tie, or an agreement even. And I think you guys as users would agree that it'd be nice to know that if you're getting some sort of slightly weighted to a side influence when they're talking about a certain product. So yeah, the only example that I've ever had of gear that I've ever shown is the MRCC so far. So everything else that I've ever shown, I bought myself out of my own pocket. Yeah, and I think let's go back to Andy, I'm going to get you in a sec because I know you've got to go soon, but I want to get your opinion in a sec because I know you're big on this as well. Quick look at the chatties. So David said he's not a fan of reviewers that often same 10 or so come up each time. Yeah, I don't know if that's the truth though, if that's actually that there is only those people that are reviewing stuff, or if it's just the way the algorithm works with YouTube. Because I know there's a lot of people that do videos on products, and we sometimes don't even know they exist. And I'll give an example of that. You guys probably might remember that I was on Sonic State a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things that was mentioned in quite a lot during that show was a lot of people never heard of me, which was interesting, but not surprising. So as a result of that, you will find that there's plenty of other YouTubers out there that you don't even know about. So it's just that those particular 10 that you're referring to may just be more connected, with the 7 degrees of separation algorithm that's working in Google land. But it could be also true what you're saying. Andy, I'm going to go to you. Tell us your experience.
Bloody camera. My experience. I don't think that I have ever particularly suffered with gear acquisition syndrome in the sense of just buying something because I want it. I've always bought stuff because it fulfilled a need and a requirement at a particular time. It may well be that further down the line, it's become redundant. I mean, there are all sorts of things that, this piece has pushed that piece out. I mean, for example, in the early days, requiring a much bigger sampling capacity than the W30 offered me meant that I had to get an S550 to expand that, and then eventually the ESI. So, and that means I no longer needed the S550, and so on and so on, and it sort of it accumulates, and I think for me the question is more. Do I still need to hang on to things? Now, we've had a bit of a conversation earlier in the chat about not selling things, or whether you should sell things, whether you're selling things to make space. When I've got a limited amount of space. I mean, when I've done this gig tomorrow, I'm going to have a complete rethink about in here. Everything's going to be stripped out, taken down. I'm going to have a real sort of rationalizing of what I'm using in here. I've already mentioned. I mean, Henrik, you mentioned the Electribes. I've got the synth and the sampler, and I love them. I think they're great. They've got limitations. I know that there's things that they won't do, but I'm using those in this gig. And I was going to use the modular, but I've decided it's just too much of a pain in the arse for not enough actual sonic input in the gig. So I am going back to these old boxes because I know them and I know them well. It's a safety net. But I mean, I would say the real guilty one, as you know what I'm going to say now, Rans, is this. There you go. And that's simply that when my first efforts with it, I found so difficult and such hard work that I just thought, I'm going to leave it and leave it. However, I have pursued it more. I've still not used it for anything particularly, but after this gig, it requires the investment of time, and we've talked about that before. So was that an example of gas? It'll only be an example of gas if I don't actually make any further headway with it. If I don't make any further headway with it, then it will have to be, I think about what I do, but that's a different matter. I could then turn over to the modular and say, did I really need to buy all that stuff in the modular? I've got it. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a great learning experience. I've got loads out of it. I've created some really nice samples of bits and bobs. The idea of using it at the gig was from my point of view initially a really important idea for the nature of the gig itself. But the actual practicality means I'm not doing that. It's going to be too much like hard work now. So, but I've still got it. It's still an instrument, and I'm still loving it. I mean, my attention is definitely still drawn to that.
Yeah.
Is that gas?
No, not at all. If you feel it is, it might be, but I don't think it is.
Yeah, it's not going to stop growing. I'm telling you, it's not going to stop growing. So, anyway, yeah. Listen, Ranzee, it's clock round past 3 o'clock, so I'm gonna have to dash off. Well, I say dash off. I'm gonna head off. Thanks for letting me pop in today. I appreciate it. It's given me a nice break away from stressing about getting everything together. But so I'm going to say ta-ra to everybody. Good to see you all, and I'll probably be up for this next week if you're willing to have me on. So right, I'll say take care, everyone.
Yeah, thanks.
Enjoy the rest of the show.
Thanks, Andy, for coming on.
Bye,
too.
Henrik. Bye, Rans. Bye, chatties.
Alrighty. See you, matey. Okay, so we can go to this view now, and we can swap between the chatties, Henrik. But yeah, I think Andy's made a couple of good points. You know, where he's asking about whether if you've purchased something and you don't use it for playing in, is that gas? Or if you've purchased something and you don't use it for recording, is that gas? And the answer may be yes, and it may be no. It depends on your personal situation. I think there's things that I've purchased that I haven't recorded with yet, but I plan to. So in my opinion, it's not. I do want to get to a couple of points that have been brought up in the chat, because we don't want to forget about them. Future World Machines has said, don't buy anything under the influence of alcohol. So that's a good bit of advice there. Or any other type of chemical enhancement, I would probably like to add to that. Merbit said, choosing... Oh, I've just lost it.
I would say don't sell. In that
Don't
case.
sell anything. Yeah, don't sell anything as well. Yeah, it's a good one. Merbit said, choosing the right reviews are important. I think that you need to find at least 3 before you commit. Triangulate. That's a good bit of advice there. So get 3 reviews of something from different people if you can. David said that he thinks it's the algorithm, going back to his comment before, so that's good. I'm glad we're on the same wavelength there. Ken's asked, does product workflow match to a person cause disappointment after a gas purchase? I think that's a really good point, Ken. I actually really, I'm kind of with you on that, because when we are seeing someone review something, sorry, I'm using the wrong button here because we haven't got Andy anymore. We'll go here. When we see someone use something and they're reviewing it, they actually might be, quite cleverly skilled at brushing through the user interface of that particular bit of gear. But when we get it, it might be a different experience, and that whole sort of user workflow experience might end up being quite difficult. And I think Andy was kind of sort of leaning towards that when he was talking about the MPC for himself. He's attributing that at the moment to not giving enough time, but that may also be, it might be that factor that it just doesn't gel with him. It might not be something that it suits. Not everything is suitable for everyone, so we know that. That's why there are MPCs and there are native instrument machines and Electribes and what's the other one? Octatracks, yeah, and Delugers and all sorts of different types of things that are kind of along that sort of line. Roland MC707s. I don't want to leave anyone out on purpose, but I'm just sort of giving an example. Native VS says, I feel like one of you should mirror your cameras. Yeah, because we're kind of looking at the back of each other's head. I don't know if I can do that. Let me just see. I might be able to turn Henrik around. Let me see if this works.
We can just switch place, and then you can turn on your chair.
Look at that. I don't have a flip button. Hang on, let me try X.
Switch, and you can turn a little bit to the left.
Me? That's left that way. You mean that one? Is that what you want me to do?
Yeah, if you exchange the 2 pictures.
Oh, you want me to swap them around?
Yeah.
Okay. I can do that. So I'll put you twice. No, just kidding. You mean that? That better?
Yeah, then you can turn a little.
Okay. I can't though. The problem is I've got all these screens here, and I'm going to be like doing that the whole show. You'll notice me doing it. Anyway, let's keep going. Mac, not Mac, sorry, the one below Mac. AC3V3DA. Ace Vita, I think we would call that. I can't afford gas. All my time is based on research. It's not a bad idea. If you keep researching, you'll never have to spend any money. So that's a good one. QRDNK says, to me, it's always about, do I expect to get inspired by that gear, yes or no? Yeah, it's a good question to ask, isn't it? It's, when we are going to be creative with that piece of gear, how inspirational is that going to be for me? It may be functional, but is it inspirational? It's a good secondary question to ask, because function doesn't always equate to usefulness, does it? Sasquatcher says, perhaps the best solution for gas is to have a wide group of friends who are into synths, and you can just borrow their gear. I mean, that's a good idea, but in COVID times, it's not as easy. So, yeah. So, yeah, Ken's given us an example in the chat of what he thinks his opinion, what he thinks a bad example of workflow is. So, yeah, that's not a bad little idea. Let us know in chat if you've bought something and you thought it was going to be an awesome thing, but the workflow of the item has let you down. Be interested to know what comes up in that list. So Yana has agreed with Ken already. So I haven't actually played with the wave state yet. Why do I keep going to that?
I have one.
I keep going to the wrong view.
I have a wave state, and I do like it. I don't like all the presets, but there are some really good filters, so you can make some fat synth sounds and sequence them. And I like the wave state, and there's coming an editor for it quite soon. So yeah. I look forward to that too.
So for me, that's probably why the Argon 8 was kind of more the choice, I guess, is just personal. Because I actually liked the iPad app that came with it, because it was, the editor was there from day dot, and the editor is actually really, really quite intuitive. I don't know. That was just me. But I probably would never buy a wave state, I don't think. Not because I don't like it.
Demos for you one day.
Yeah, not because I don't like it. It's just because I don't feel that it will add benefit to what I've already got here. Because I've already got quite a bit of stuff that's got wavetable synthesis on it. Let's keep going with the chatties, because they've got heaps of ideas coming through, and it's really good to be interactive with them. Ken gone on to say, gas is more dangerous to newbies that don't understand how to use a synth, especially if you can't spend a lot of time in a store. Also, a lot of newbies don't necessarily have the budget either, so they could end up investing in something which completely doesn't work for them. So that's a good point. Adam said, at the same time we talk about workflow and does it cover the ground we need, how about buy a piece of gear just to purely enjoy it and play with it with no real creative goal? What's wrong with that? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And there's plenty of examples here in my studio where I've done that. And in fact, Andy was talking before about his Eurorack experience. So far he's had it to enjoy, but he's not using it in his live performance. So I reckon that is absolutely, completely fine. Future World Machines has said, I bought a Digitac and hated it until I recently learned how to use it. There you go. So things can turn the corner. There we go. Yeah. And then I get that there's people that sometimes, I keep hitting the wrong button. People sometimes talk about clearing their studio out. When I did a recarpeting of this place at the start of the year, and as a result of doing that, I have a pile of gear that I do want to move on. And the test for me was to leave it in a certain part of the house to see if it would stay there, if I'd go into the containers where they're packed and bring anything out. And I think I've only opened it once to bring something out. So that piece of equipment has now stayed, and the rest of the stuff that's in those containers will be moved on. And I think I'll get to the point where I'll move stuff on. And that's just my logic. One of the problems I've got though is I've used some of the gear in some of my albums, and it's not like I'm a #1 album producer and I need to hold on to it because I'm New Order or something stupid like that. I've always just thought that, what if I need to re-record it, or do you know what I mean? I mean, it might not be something that you could easily buy again, especially where I live. So that my location does have a factor as to buying gear, because I live in a part of the world that's quite remote, and it's quite hard to get certain things that are a lot more easily accessible to people that live, for example, in the US or the UK or Europe, because there's more population, there's more, density and things like that, and there's more people that are buying stuff. But whereas I live, it's very low population and very remote, and I have to take that in consideration. So everything that I do buy and it gets imported from overseas has a freight factor, and I don't just want to move it on quickly. So that actually helps me with gas, believe it or not, the freight factor. And there's another thing that helps me with gas too, and that is the customs duty charges that we get in this country. So I mentioned before when I got the S2400, that I had to pay a customs charge of about 240 Australian dollars on that. That's something that if you really, really want something, you're willing to pay that, because that's really just money going straight to the government for them, I don't know, to blow cigars in the air. I don't really know what benefit really the government are getting out of it. They're still earning money on GST and other things, or VAT in your country. So it's kind of crazy. But for me, that becomes hang on a minute. If it's over $1,000 Australian, I'm going to have to pay duty. And if I can't convince the shop to podgy the invoice up to make it like less than 1,000, which a lot of them won't, because they can get in serious trouble. So I might think twice about getting something. So that could be, money could be a blockage for you for gas. So
I keep all my old equipment, even the bad stuff. It's very rare that I sell some. It happens, but not often. And some of the problem with gas is that you get something you actually already have, but in another version. Like I've always used the DAW, and I bought a Force. I don't use it enough, but what I'm coming to is I'm beginning to split things up in groups. So the Force will be assigned to the modular setup, where everything I do there will be recorded to tracks on the Force.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and then I have other groups which I will connect sometimes and record in the DAW, and I'm also still using software. But about the DAW, you said about keeping gear because of having the same sounds on old projects. Always render your tracks. Don't believe that the gear will work in 10 years.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Render every track. Don't only have it as MIDI, but keep the MIDI. You may want to add something or use another synthesizer on that track. But render, then you can always make new mix downs and work with it.
Yeah, and I mean, and of course I've done that. So the whole pure reason of keeping it is probably more romantic than anything. So I mean, look at there's that word again, romantic. Maybe that has a very a very important link to gas, and we probably should be asking ourselves, are we being a bit romantic here when we're making this decision about buying something? Is this really a romantic decision, or is this a logical decision? So that could be one to ask yourself. Yeah, I think it's been a great discussion. And I don't know if you came here thinking that we're going to solve your gas problem, you might need to ask a plumber for that. But no, if you actually do have a gas problem, in other words, you're finding yourself buying too much gear and you're not really sort of getting anywhere with it, you probably should, just have a chat to one of us and we can help. Like, I mean, we're talking to Andy before about his MPC. We know that he's struggling with that. So there's people around that are happy to help people get through issues with gear. Lisa's been helpful for me in the past with certain things. She's in chat right now, and vice versa. So I know Henrik and we both have an Akai Force, and we use them the same way. So we use them with our modular gear, and we use it to create clips of little snippets of sequences or sounds that we make out of our modular gear. And I think the Force is absolutely perfect for that sort of stuff. It's not the only thing the Force can do, of course, but it really does help that world. And yeah, if you've got a lot of different modules and it's hard to keep track of things, the Force is perfect for keeping a record of those little happy accidents. So that does help with gas. So we've got a few more comments coming through. Ken said, musicians are artists. We're driven by emotion and we want to add more points to our easels. Yes, I agree. And romanticism is an emotion. So there's nothing wrong with it. It may be the exact reason why you've bought something. So that may in turn turn out to be the inspiration that you needed to get that track out or that album out. So don't always think it's a bad thing. Sasquatch has said, the problem isn't buying gear, it's finding space. Oh, dearie me. We haven't talked about space yet. When you get yourself into the point where Sasquatch is so correct. You get yourself to the point where you're having to build a new studio. Oh, hang on, I've got to find that meme that we did recently. Did we keep it?
My wife and I are talking about having a bedroom somewhere else because of the gear.
Well,
it's easy to move the bed.
There's a famous meme that's out, right, where you see the plan of a house and they've just redone the plan of the house where it's just got a toilet, a kitchen, and everything else is just synthesizers. Well, I actually changed that and it looks like this. So if you have a gas problem, this could be the answer. Stage one is you just have a bedroom, a kitchen, and a bathroom, and the rest is for synthesizers. And then you've got a gas problem, so you do stage 2, then stage 3, then stage 4, then stage 5. Do we see there's a repeating problem here? That's a good one. I like that. Sasquatch is on the money.
It is actually, like I say, do it in groups. If you have too much gear, split it into groups and work with the groups. You can always swap instruments.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I kind of work the same, actually. I like that idea. Because you kind of, it helps you when you're recording too. It kind of helps you with your workflow.
And less problems.
Stephen, who's Mac in the chat, has said, when it's appropriate time in the show, could you give an appraisal of the Rode wireless mic system you bought, as I'm about to buy one? Well, I can. I mean, I can do it right now. I've been actually pretty happy with it, to be honest. So you might remember, if you've watched my channel, I do mailbox sessions, and this actually came out in a mailbox session, and I actually plugged this in as I unboxed it for the first time. I've been running the show now on this mic for a while now, probably a good couple of months. So I've personally felt that the quality of the audio between this mic and I used to use a Rode NT1, which is just over here, is not any worse or better in that sense. But what it gives me as a YouTuber is, if I want to turn around and do demos of stuff, my voice goes with me. I don't have to move a mic. So I've got that flexibility, and I can move around in the studio and I can still talk. So for me, it was more a functional thing as opposed to quality. But I think the quality is completely fine. There's a lot of YouTubers that use them. So that may be a good point to remember for you. You might not care how many YouTubers use them. The settings of the thing I covered in that pretty much all of it in that mailbox video. So if you do go through my channel, you'll find it. It's all there. One thing I will admit though is that there was an adapter that I got for it, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It's like it's a special XLR adapter, and it's on one of my mailbox videos. So make sure you get the adapter. It doesn't come with the Rode wireless mic kit. You have to get that as a separate thing. And if I can try and remember what it was called. Bugger, what was it called? I'll have a look and see if I can remember the name, but someone in the chat might remember. It's actually just down there. I don't want to pull it because it'll just unplug everything. But yeah, it's like an XLR adapter that helps with the powering arrangement that those TRRS 3.5mm cables use. And it's only made by Rode. You can't get a third-party one, otherwise that won't work. Let me just quickly check this actually, because I do have access to mailbox videos here. I can't remember which one it was though. No, I'm going to have to go through my YouTube video. Someone in chat will be able to tell me. Microphone characteristics. I'm not a big person on that. I don't really know if I'm actually that person that can tell you that. I think you guys should be able to hear the characteristics of this. I mean, I can bring my voice really close to this and it will sound differently like any microphone, but they're built to actually sit as a lapel. You can actually use these with there's actually an input on the side, and you can actually put that on your belt buckle and actually have a little lavalier mic with these. I haven't actually tried that. So yeah. Let me just see if I've got that product, because I know everyone's going to be wanting to know what it's called now. Rode VXLR Plus, it's called. Let me see if I can bring something up on that. Rode VXLR Plus. Here we go. Definitely get this if you're planning to get one of these things. So I can get a photo for you guys. Sorry, one sec, I'm just saving it off the internet. And sorry, I hate it when I do this and it's really bad viewing for you guys because it doesn't come across that well when you're doing streams, but it's going to be good because I've got it. There we go. That's the thing I'm talking about. It's called the VXLR Plus. And what does it do? It's a mini jack to XLR adapter with a power converter in it. And the reason why you need the power converter is the 3.5 has a plug-in power, and it enables you to plug that into a mixer that has phantom power. So it converts it properly. And there are other products on the market that do plug-in power XLR conversions, but they don't actually work the same as this. I've done some research. So unfortunately, they aren't cheap, these things either. Let me see if I can get you a price. Oh, this is Australian dollars, sorry. It's not that bad. It's 39 Australian, so halve that, 20 pounds. It's not cheap when you think about it. It's just a little plug adapter, but you could probably work out how to wire it yourself if you wanted to. But yeah, did that help? Did that help at all? About the mic? I feel the problem with me is with mics is I kind of feel whatever I tend to do with mics, I always feel like they are either sometimes too hot or too hissy. And I always find that I have to add some sort of, whether it's a, dehisser on it, which is a VST plugin in this case, or if I don't have the ability to do that because I'm using hardware, I might have to, EQ it and things like that. So Rode are Australian company, yes. It's not why I own it either. It's purely because it was actually a really good product. Completely irrelevant to the fact that they're Australian. But yeah, I've never been the best mic person. And it's only because I just don't think I have had the audio engineering training on how to handle mics and, the live stage. I haven't had that experience as an audio engineer. So I'm sure there's people out there that know a lot more about mics and how to handle them better. But I mean, you guys listen to my show. I'm sure one of you guys would piped up by now and said that I sound terrible. So there you go. The actual microphones themselves come with a little 3.5 millimeter cable, and it's kind of got that. It's got that sort of coiled expansion type sort of gear. And the reason why they do that is because a lot of people that use these mics, you can actually mount them on a hot shoe on your camera. So actually I've got a Rode mic on here at the moment, but if I was to take that off, you can actually mount the Rode mic just using the clip itself, the actual clip that's on here, just slips on and becomes part of your hot shoe, and then that little cable just plugs into your audio input on your camera. And I've just lost the lens cover while I'm doing that. This is a Canon, but it works on any type of camera that's got internal mic connection. Oops, like this one does. So any type of focus, there you go. So any type of camera that's got an internal mic connection that overrides the external mic, what am I saying? That overrides the internal mic are always good if you're using that sort of gear. Yeah. If you're watching Rode, please leave the money on the fridge for that. No, mine's on a V2. I don't think mine's a V2. Hang on. When did I get my Rode?
I actually thought it was a Danish or Swedish company, or perhaps Norwegian, because of the spelling. It means red in Danish and Swedish. Yeah, I think so in Swedish. And it's pronounced røde.
Yeah, okay.
So I thought it was a Danish company, but it's something about the founder who is from Sweden, I think.
Might be, yeah, you could be right. I'm just trying to find out when I bought this thing, and I can't find the purchase information from it. I can't remember where I bought it from. Yeah, it probably isn't a version 2. I don't know. Because I actually didn't even know there was a version 2, so that might actually explain that. There you go. Cool. All right, how long have we been going for? I should keep track of the stream. 1 hour and 46 minutes. And I've got a whole bunch of questions in chat that I've ignored. No, I haven't. Yeah. So everyone's talking about mics now. So yeah, so the different types of mics, you've got condensers, carboids, dynamics. I kind of do understand that, but in sense of me being a good person to talk about microphones from an engineering audio point of view, I'm not the best. Because I've never ever been able to get it right. If I can't get it right, then I shouldn't be.
Warning! It's
sorry.
the wife! It's the wife! Warning!
Is that when you've bought something? All right, let's go to the chatty so you can answer your phone. All right. So yeah, we were talking about gas before, and I think we've covered a good deal of that subject. Getting back onto topic, is there anything that you guys want to talk about in chat about gas that you feel maybe we haven't covered, or maybe we have not said properly, and you're not happy with something that we've said, or you want to elaborate on something that we've said that we didn't quite cover enough? So, yeah, do mention that in chat, or if you think we've covered it to death, mention that as well. Yeah. The problem with mics, Sasquatch just mentioned, if it sounds good to me, it's probably a good mic. The problem with mics is that I don't know. Like, you can go to these stores and you can't really try them out properly. Like, you can't. Like, it's not like you can go to a store, you can have a listen to it, and you think, yep, that sounds pretty good. You take it home. It might be different when you get it back to the studio. I kind of feel like sometimes you need gear for a week before you know whether it's actually good for you or not. I wish there was I know in some countries, I think Sweetwater have a 7-day thing on their purchases. I don't know if it's on everything, but you guys who are in the US can tell me if that's true or not. But I think in some places I would love, especially on the gas topic, so this is actually completely related. I would love it if we had that 7-day return policy, because I feel after 7 days, if you've bought something and you think to yourself, ooh, I don't know, this is really not gelling with me, I should be able to take it back. Now, I don't know how ethically that will sit with some retailers, because they would then be wearing an unboxing sort of product they have to resell, and they might have to take a hit on this resell of it. I don't really know. Or maybe they charge a return fee. I'm not sure how that kind of works, but yeah, I kind of feel sometimes that if we buy stuff, maybe an option might be to rent it from somewhere that does short-term rentals. You could, like, if you really want to buy a Moog 1, you know it's going to be expensive, so go rent one for maybe a month and see if it really is what you want, and then you haven't spent $10,000 US on a synth. That could be a way to look at it. Just playing it in a shop sometimes isn't enough. Just watching YouTube videos sometimes isn't enough. Ken was saying, he mentioned a while back about keeping your mixer input count limited. Yeah, I do that. I've got a Presonus Studio 192 as an audio interface, which I use for the show. And I can just bring it up now. I have got on my mic a limiter, and I've got a gate, and I've got an EQ. And the EQ is really very subtly, that there's really hardly any, there's like 130 hertz on one of the settings, just to sort of take something out that I felt it needed at the time. I don't use a compressor on this particular mic. I don't feel it needs it. But I do use the RTX voice plugin in my streaming software, and I use the, what's it called again? The RX voice denoise. I probably don't need it, but I just feel it just cleans up any background noise that you get. It just makes the stream sound a bit more pro.
I think many streams, I can't hear it on this one, so I don't know if it's on this one too today. But many streams from different providers have different levels on different people, so it's more important to have a compressor limiter at the end. Everything.
Yeah. So at one stage I got recommended all this stuff from watching YouTube videos and that. And there was a bunch of Waves plugins that you can get that all these YouTubers recommend. And for me, it's more the sort of people that aren't in the audio industry that would talk about this stuff. People that, your standard YouTubers who don't have a clue about music or recording, or do you know what I mean? get a camera, get a mic, run some plugins. Yep, we're good to go. And I use some of these wave plugins, and I actually found them really harsh, the way that they dealt with audio. And if you go back over some of my earlier streams, we've talked about this stuff. So there was even a NVIDIA plugin that you could run on any computer that had an NVIDIA graphics card that was the 1080 or above, newer. It had some sort of noise cancelling algorithm that you could run on it, and it ran on the actual GPU, not on the CPU. And there's a video of this guy bringing a leaf blower into his studio and turning it on, and you can't hear the leaf blower, but you can hear him talking perfectly fine. And then he would disable the NVIDIA noise cancelling thing, and you could hear the leaf blower. It was crazy how this algorithm worked. But I found that as well quite weird, how it would cut your voice in and out, and there would just be some weird things that it would do with it. For me, I found the Isotope plugin to be the most pure sort of way of removing noise and things like that. And I know my videos tend to be a bit quieter than some others too. I know some people really push their audio right to the point where it's, you know, it's almost peaking, and they're using a lot of compression and stuff. But I don't know. I always find that I like to have headroom and dynamics in audio. It's probably the old-fashioned me there. I do tend to like the older recordings of music as a result too. We talked about the sausages before on the stream, right? With compression. I don't know, you guys listen to the radio in your car, right? And one of the things you'll notice is, especially if you listen to talkback radio, when they put an ad on straight after you've been listening to people phoning in and talkback DJs talking over their mics and that, is the ads are super compressed. So they come across in your car as really, really loud, but actually they're not any louder than the peak of that conversation that you were just listening to before the ad came on. It's just that all the compression has just like maxed out all the volume that they can in that particular decibel range. And that stuff I hate. And I find myself turning the volume down in my car when those ads come on, the commercials, right? So yeah, I just find, we're going off on a massive tangent about mics and stuff at the moment, but for me, I'm much more happier with the dynamics of audio. I much prefer the light and the shade in it. I feel it sounds more natural.
Me too. And when I say compressor or limiter at the end, I mean a slow one. So if after a second or two it's too low, it will raise the volume.
Yeah.
Or low.
A little bit more organic, yeah. Yeah, see, Sasquatch is saying, he's agreeing with me. He's saying, don't use a compressor on vocals. There you go. So we're in the same boat. The slow boat to somewhere. But yeah, YouTube ads do that, don't they, Mac? I know. It's like, don't do it. I kind of feel that we vote with our clicks with these things. If something annoys us, we will click away quicker. And if you actually stop yourself and you can actually see yourself do it, you've clicked away from something because something's annoyed you, and it's usually something audio related too that's annoyed you. It's kind of funny. Yeah, the FCC did crack down on that was a while ago now. I remember watching some videos about it, and there was like a law about what compression rates were allowed, and because there was that perception of volume I was talking about before, which actually didn't exist, because that was the commercial people that write the ads would argue in court. They'd say, well, this ad is no louder than the guy that's talking on the radio just before me. So here's his peak decibel reading, and this is our peak decibel reading. So see, it's the same, no louder. So what's your problem? The problem isn't about the loudness, it's about the perceived loudness. And that's why, you know, I'm going to sound like an old fart here, but there's a lot of music out now that I actually can't listen to, and it might be purely because it's just too compressed. It might be annoying us. We're not giving it its. Maybe there's some really good musical content in some of that music that's out now, and we're just not giving it our attention because it's got that same feeling that you have when you're listening to a commercial on the radio. So all of a sudden now your brain has processed that as an annoyance and it's put that into that category. So it might be something for us to... You go.
Yeah, I rarely listen to radio just because of that. And because there are some bad songs sometimes.
Yes. Well, both. Yeah, I mean, I generally listen, with radio these days, I generally listen to talkback radio because of the news content that I'm wanting to be interested in, or sports content or whatever. But when I'm not listening to radio, I'm listening to music in the car, which is probably 90% of the time. So, yeah. Rick Beato, yes, he's awesome. He's a cool guy. I love his channel. He's doing really well for himself. Look, he's a man that knows a lot about recording, and he's got the experience there, and he's a very, very, very well-regarded musician. He has a lot of musical theory experience as well. So I think, we talked about Rick before. We've talked about him with the algorithm on copyright strikes and claims and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not surprised that he's talking about this as well. We as people, it's funny because we kind of get given these situations, and it takes us a while to sort of, as a whole planet, to sort of go back and say, hang on a minute, we're not really liking this and it needs to change. But there's this whole period of time that it's kind of worked its way where we've actually started to go, hang on a minute, this is something not right here. Let's investigate it. Let's now talk about it. Now that talking's becoming a bit louder. Now it's going into courts. Now it's becoming a worldwide thing. That process is a bit annoying sometimes, because if you're one of these people that's found it annoying from the start, you're thinking, I've been saying that for years. That you're one of those people, right? And it's good that finally other people are starting to catch on. But yeah. Look, one of the things, if you're really interested in compression, and you want to, and if this is the first time you kind of really thought about it, go and get like a Led Zeppelin recording or something from the 70s, and put it in as an MP3. It doesn't even have to be a high quality, audio. Just put it into some sort of wave editor where you can actually see the waveform, and then get something that's been recently recorded. I won't mention any names, but just something that that has that sort of annoying compression level, and then put it and have a look at the difference in the dynamics of that waveform. That's all you visually look at it.
Yes, but the old stuff has to be on vinyl because it's on most streaming services. It's remastered.
Ah, good point. Yes, good point. Yeah. Okay. So record it from your old 1200, your old Technics. Actually, that's a good point. I was going to ask you guys this. I'm in the market for buying a 1200, and one of the reasons why I want to get a 1200 is because of this baby here. And I've got a whole bunch of vinyl that I've had since the 80s, and I want to sample some of it. My question is this. Is it the Mark 7 is the latest one that you can get? What is the difference between the famous Mark 2 and the Mark 7 that you can get today? Like, how much different are the two turntables? If it's just me wanting to get some high quality samples out of that, like, is it really worth the sort of going in trying to find an old Mark II on the used market, or is the Mark 7 just as good, or am I not even needing a 1200? I could just go and get an Audio Technica turntable from the local hi-fi store. What do you guys think in chat? Tell us what you think. There's been some questions coming too. While you're answering that, I'll get to these. Can we say Pink Floyd instead? Of course you can. I love Pink Floyd. In fact, the other day we were talking about Pink Floyd on the show, where we were referencing The Wall, and we were talking about can't eat your meat, you can't have any pudding. I think that was the reference we had on the show the other day, and not many people could remember where that song that came from. And it was Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, I think, from memory. So yeah, we love Pink Floyd. Nothing sounds as good as old red reel-to-reel tape or vinyl, at least in my opinion. I agree with Sasquatch. I love reel-to-reel tape stuff. It's beautiful. QRD and Case saying, remember guys, some of your very first recordings may sound way better nowadays than nowadays. The reason may be that you haven't used the compressor. Max asked me what drone have I got. I've got a Spark. It's an old one now. So I don't think they make the Spark anymore, and they're a bit crappy too, to be honest. They crash a lot. So you see if you can get something a bit better than the Spark. QRDNK said the mix is more important than all the FX stuff. Yep, I agree. Look, Sasquatch is saying I'd look at a project turntable. Okay, I don't know what they are. Lisa, I knew Lisa would answer this question. Lisa said, lol, 1210 Mark II has analog pitch fader from then pitch fader in the digitals at steps. No sampling from the head, more important than the deck. Okay. I don't need to do any pitch though. I'm just going to be sampling it and then I'm going to be doing the pitch changing in the sampler. Max just put a Spark. Oh, look, they're okay. I just find the charging annoying on them. So get a spare battery. I haven't learned how to scratch. No, Adam. I've learned how to scratch other parts of my body, if that's what you meant. But yeah, not the turntable, that's for sure.
On the records.
Yeah. I could probably put a big scratch across it if I tried to scratch, and that probably wouldn't be a good idea. Yeah. Ah, dear. Well, you can look. You can. Native ES has said, "What about saving sampling time?" You can do it that way, but I mean, these machines, the modern machines these days, there's plenty of sampling time. There are limits, even in the S2400. There are limits in that as well. I don't think it's really going to be a problem. I'm not going to be sampling like a whole track. I'm just going to be sampling small little sound bites. If you're not DJing, then yeah, Audio Technica. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But are the styluses on them any good, or are they really are we really going to get 48K of nice sound out of it, or are these things cheap Chinese made bits of rubbish? I want to have some sort of decent. I'm a bit of a hi-fi buff, remember, so and I do love the Technics brand. This ain't the 90s anymore. Yes, someone rang and it's the 90s calling. Yeah, I know. But Dumb Jezza, we are talking about sampling off of vinyl, and it's actually a bit of a resurgence of that sort of stuff happening right now. Talk to anyone. Adam said he's had his Mark IIs for over 17 years. Yeah, I know. So this is what I hear. People that have got them have had them for a long time, and they're still just as good as the day they bought them. And that's an awesome thing. Yeah, we're going to get Adam back on the show soon. I'm sure he'll talk to me about it very soon.
About quality, I don't think the new ones are better, and if they are, then remember the records were not made for higher quality. So if you want the vintage sound, use the old one.
Well, in the 2400, I've got there's actually two phono inputs on there. One's the filtered bass one, which is actually emulating what the old SP 1200 did, and the other one's a clean without filtering. And then you've also got, destructive effects that you can apply on your samples anyway. So I mean, we're really talking digital land here anyway. So it doesn't need to be like the most amazing quality. It's going to be more just to sort of get a decent sound. And
then stay with the old one, else it's just gas.
Exactly. So Max asked me what the bare minimum ATEM is for streaming. Yeah, so Andy's in the chat. I don't know if he's still there or not. Andy, who's Synth Addict, he just got a whole bunch of ATEM stuff, and he and was based on a few recommendations that I made. If you want to talk about this stuff, jump into that Facebook group called Streaming. What do we call it again? trying to remember the name of it. Synth and Streaming Geekery. So there's a Facebook group. Look it up, Synth and Streaming Geekery, and we talk about the cameras and the A10 minis and the mics and not necessarily synths, but sometimes we do. But that sort of stuff. So that's a good group to get into, and you can ask questions. But if you're wondering what I use, that's an A10 Mini Pro ISO, the one that is actually streaming right now. I probably shouldn't press anything because it'll stop streaming. And it also records. So you probably don't need the ISO if you don't want to record on it. If you're just going to use it just to stream, just get the Pro. So there's a recommendation. And yeah, they're really good. Sasquatch is saying, look up richer sounds in the UK, project turntables, Waldorf and Stylus. Yeah, see, Waldorf and Stylus I've heard about. I just couldn't think of the name. Marcus is saying he has the Audio Technica AT120 USB turntable. Yeah, see, that's one that was at the local hi-fi store, and the guy said to me that they're actually pretty decent. I don't know about you. The USB part is kind of the thing that worries me with all the bloody ground loop noise problems and everything. Yeah. Do you know what the Corrosive Abuse is saying? He's got a 1210. The thing is that they still fetch a pretty decent price used on the used market. So that's one of the problems with the 1210s. Yeah. Belt drives are better for sampling than direct drives. Less rumble from the motor. Yeah. So that's one thing I guess I need to look at. But if you're not doing a massive long sample, I don't know if that's going to be a problem. I mean, if it's just a small sound bite where you might just be doing, a couple of seconds of a bit of a track on a turntable, is the rumble really going to be a problem? So we do need to think about those sort of things. Yeah. All right.
I wonder why nobody ever made a piece of software for the camera so you can just take a picture of a vinyl and then it converts that to audio. It should be possible.
You could, yeah. Adamski, I accidentally hit the wrong button on your message in the chat, so I apologise. Can you just write that again? I actually accidentally hit the wrong button. I didn't mean to hide your message. Just trying to moderate the chat at the same time as run a live stream. Just say it, just pipe it again, and we'll get it back up. Sorry about that. Yeah, I think so. See, that's something we haven't talked about in this show before. Is vinyl, and I think a lot of us love that stuff. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, but I've shown you all the Technics stuff that I've bought over the years that I've collected, that are all the old-fashioned hi-fi system stuff. I've got the original CD player. I've got, and an interesting thing about the original CD player is that a lot of CDs won't play on it because it's the original, the first iteration of CDs. They have to be a certain pressed in a factory type CD, otherwise it won't play on there. You can't play burnt CDs, you can't play any sort of complex, more modern CDs on it. So I've got, hundreds of CDs and only probably maybe 15 of those CDs will play on it. So it's interesting how technology changes. Adams. Yeah, the problem with the Mark 7 is I can't get, I can get a Mark 7, I can just walk out the shop with it today. I can't get a Mark II as easy. So it's not like there's plenty of them around. Yeah, the thing that's interesting about the CDs, guys, is I went through this whole thing where when I bought this CD player, I bought it from a pawnbroker, and it was like the original Technics one. And then I started working out very quickly that I couldn't play the CDs on it. I then was starting to walk around the house, and I haven't played CDs for ages. And I thought, hang on a minute, I don't even have a CD player in here anymore. The only CD player I had was I think it was in a car, and it was an old car that I don't have anymore now. But I had to go find some sort of like portable CD player from somewhere, and then I realized I've got an old computer that had a DVD player, which is also CD. So really, the only way I could play CDs was through a computer. And I thought to myself, that wasn't. We've completely gone off the hi-fi systems, haven't we? That was kind of like that whole backwards journey. That I've just realized that we don't have, the hi-fi system anymore. That's almost like how many people still have a hi-fi system in their house where they've got the speakers, they've got the cabinet, they've got the amplifier, the turntable. I think it's see, I've got one too, but it's a dying thing, don't you think? A lot of people have these sound bars now, and everything's Bluetooth, and they use their phone and or their computer, right? They don't have full, hi-fi systems with the old gear in it.
Yes, and it's sad because it's something you have to consider when mastering your music. People are not listening on good equipment. Most are hearing it on phones or a little speaker, and of course you've got to make it so it sounds good on a hi-fi too. But you shouldn't be too critical, because people will not listen there. They will hear it on headphones or somewhere else.
Yeah, a few guys in the chat are saying how they're saying it's crazy how we've left the hi-fi thing. I agree. I think there's a difference between sitting on a chair in between a couple of speakers, or even if you've got surround sound and a subwoofer and things like that. There's a whole different experience of doing that and filling that room with that music that you love than listening to it on headphones, or even the ear pods that we shove inside our ears these days. There's a completely different experience, I feel. So the reason why hi-fis are becoming less of a thing is, I guess these days people whinge about what people are listening to. You might share a house with family, or, I don't want to have to listen to that. So you find yourself listening on headphones. Or you've got neighbours that like to knock on your door. There was a question that came through from QRD&K Henrik that asked about smoking in studios, and whether it was a good idea to smoke or go outdoors and have a smoke. What do you think?
It's not a good idea, but going outside, then I bother all the neighbors who have open windows. No, it's not a good thing. Normal tobacco makes the yellow stuff on gear. This also puts some things on it, but I don't make big clouds as some do. And my gear, well, I think it will work for 20 years. My old gear still works. My old gear from the 80s, and I smoked back then, so it's okay to me.
ASIO Head said, smoking makes the monitors better. It burns them in faster. I don't smoke myself, so I haven't smoked since I was a kid, and only probably did that as being a naughty kid in the old days. I don't smoke, and I don't vape or anything like that. So I don't really have that problem. But yeah, I know a lot of people in the music industry they vape or they e-cigarette. So
but at my work at the national TV station, the old mixers, the desks, they had a cup holder or beer holder, and an ashtray built in.
They did,
That was normal back then. And then, of course, it caused trouble, especially if you pulled over your beer, which happened. And you also have to think of the lifetime. Do you change the gear in 10 years? If you do, does it matter? But of course, smoking is not the best, either e-cigarettes or real cigarettes. It's not the best for any gear.
Yeah. Is it the resin that, I mean, I actually don't really understand what the e-cigarette leaves. Is it some sort of resin that it leaves behind?
The tar, yeah.
Okay, so it's the same as cigarettes, as, I guess, is it?
Oh, e-cigarettes. It's like if you have worked on a discotheque with a smoke machine. It's exactly the same used in e-cigarettes.
Yep.
So it makes a little greasy. Is it called Hein?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the gear in
but
nightclubs.
It's after years.
I used to find if you DJ'd in nightclubs and they had smoke machines, that some of the mixed in consoles and stuff would have the sliders and the pots and things on that would have residue on it. Depending on how old the gear was. If it was only new gear, you wouldn't notice it. But if it was 10 years old, it would definitely have a yuckiness about it. Definitely a yuck. If they didn't clean it. If it was one of those cheesy nightclubs.
Yeah, but if you vape normally, it's not even 1/100th of what a smoke machine puts out.
Yeah, of course. They put out heaps of stuff, don't they? Yeah. So the answer is whoever, I can't remember, I think it was QRDNK, whoever asked that, it's don't smoke in your studio is probably the answer. Doesn't worry me because I don't smoke, but yeah. But I can understand if you did, it's, especially if it was cold or really hot where you lived. And most people that watch my show usually have reasonably cooler climates. So you don't really want to, you're in your t-shirt in your studio, it's nice and warm, all your gear's on. You don't want to go outside, have to put a jacket on, put the boots on, and it's freezing cold outside. I know you guys aren't in your cooler months at the moment, but most of the year you do have the cooler weather. So it's probably it's a convenience thing. And if it's just your own private studio, who cares? No one's going to care.
Yeah. And for those interested, I'm blowing it at the wave state.
You love the wave state so much. Yes. Some people don't believe in drinking in the studio at all. I have drinks near stuff, but if I was to knock a drink over like that beer can, it wouldn't affect any of my gear because it's not near enough to it to affect it. So I do have principles about where I put my drinks, and I don't put them anywhere near nowhere near this sort of stuff here. Usually, I think I've probably broken the rule a couple of times, but usually. I can just remember, I forget that movie. There was some movie where someone spilt the drink over the Neve console. I can't remember what movie it was now, and I remember cringing when I saw that. Sorry, Henrik.
Just when I got the XD, a week later, I turned over a glass of tea into it, and the top keys didn't work until I tried it, and it was a week later it began to work again, and the velocity came a little later. Now it's fine, but
you had to work the tea out of it.
What?
You had to work the tea out of it.
Yeah. But drinking in a studio, it's okay if you just keep it away from the instruments. But I used to say drinks in studio is fine, drunks is not, or are not.
Yeah. Okay, so look, some of us have got slightly different rules. If you had a commercial place, your commercial studio, you probably want to have some rules because other people are using it, you probably want to have those rules where you're controlling multiple people. If it's just you and you spill something, then that's on you. You only have to answer to yourself. So yeah, all good. Right. I think we should probably wrap up the show. We're going to be streaming for 2 hours and 25 minutes almost, which is a pretty decent stream, I must say. And it's nice to have everybody in the chat be part of it this week. It was more of a chat about gas, and it was good fun. I think it was something that we probably should make ourselves a bit more aware of, and hopefully this week's topic has kind of got you to scratch the old cranium a bit more about making decisions about when you want to buy stuff. The old question is, do I need it or do I want it? Is it a romantic decision? Is it really a logical decision? Is it going to be something that's going to give me inspiration? There's no right or wrong answers to these things. It's always very subjective, this stuff. But yeah, really good having everyone on the channel. And we went off topic and talked about mics and streaming and all sorts of smoking in studios, all sorts of kind of weird topics. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's going to be a no show next week, just to let you guys know. So I do apologize. Next week, I'm actually going to be away, so it's impossible for me to do a show. But I will be back the following week. We have another guest on the following week, which you guys have had on the show before. So it's good to have Henrik there. He's always welcome on. He's actually good value. Henrik's, if you ever want to check out Henrik, he's got his Bandcamp channel, which I'll link in the video description once the video finishes, and you guys can check that out. I'd thoroughly recommend you go check out his music. It's actually really, really good. Better than anything I could ever do. He does know what he's doing. And if you're wondering where Henrik actually lives, he lives in Denmark. So there you go. So you had an Aussie and you had a Dane on the show. How cool is that, hey?
My music is also on all other services. But Bandcamp, if you buy there, I get the money direct.
Yeah, you get it direct, yeah. But yeah, you'd probably be on Spotify and all those things, right?
Mm.
And it's JX3D, isn't it? Is your artist name? Yeah, so it's easy for you to check it out.
Both when doing patches on music. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, guys. Well, we did have Brooksy on for a little bit, but if Brooksy's still watching, good luck with your gig tomorrow, mate. We're all really, really keen to see how that went. So we'll probably catch up with you in the week and see how that goes. Sorry to not have Darren on the show. Darren, pity that you couldn't get your mic and your camera to work, but we'll see if we can get you back soon. We do miss you and hope everything's going good. And thanks to all the chatties. Thank you very much, everybody in the chat, for being part of the show. It's awesome to have you all. And I am going to say goodbye, farewell, see you later. Enjoy your week. Bye.
Bye-bye.